Among all the tinsel and lights, I'm strolling around, just wondering where you have gone to. Are you just around the corner or in Kathmandu? And whether or not you're with somebody new, still I wish you the merriest Christmas. I hope it will be all that you dream. I have nothing but love for you. You can trust that to be true. Yeah, I wish you the merriest Christmas of all.
We forget sometimes about the impact education-wise that these daycare providers do provide.
That's 100% right. So yes, our childcare providers are building skills for our future workforce. You know, I think we often think about the strength of our military, the strength of our economy. But if we think about it, we need people to fill those roles, to strengthen those areas that we find value in. And we're literally developing those people in these earliest years of life. We are building the foundation of our future, and we have to pay attention to that and the folks that are part of building that foundation.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes we forget, we know some of the struggles are out there, right? But we're not willing to necessarily talk about the struggles that childhood care providers have, as well as families.
That's absolutely right. The cost of quality childcare is astronomical. I know, Joe, you can relate to me, and I have 2 small children in childcare, and the cost is almost college tuition worthy. And I like to joke that my kid is not walking out with college credits, but they are building those foundational blocks to really be successful in life. And that's what we need.
Absolutely. I mean, with the college credits, it was a little bit cheaper tuition for me, but I'll tell you what, I'd pay that tuition to be with Miss Cindy, my kids, 100% over, because the lessons that they learned, the skills that they learned with other children, the skills that they learned from valued leaders and, in my opinion, educators, it's a strong start, a building block. Everything needs a foundation, right? Every single thing, whether it's a house or education, needs a foundation, and it starts there.
Smell of the big Christmas tree in the square. Here comes the Christmas spirit again.
Hello and welcome to the 12 Days of Education presented by the Rockingham County Education Foundation. I'm Joe Dexter. Glad to have you for day 7. And boy, do we have a great guest for you. NC 100's Merald Holloway will join us coming up in just a bit to talk about all of the perils of education. That's coming up here on the 12 Days of Education. Of course, we've got a thing to give away for you, a great gift for you. Let's take a look at that on this beautiful 12 Days of Education. On the 7th day of education, we give away to thee a Gordon Ellen photography print. This beautiful print will make it to the wall on your home from the lens of one of the region's best wildlife and community photographers. All you have to do to enter is text EDUCATE to 24365 this beautiful Saturday. That's EDUCATE to 24365. 365. Let's remind you why we are here. Some of the great initiatives of the Rockingham County Education Foundation, including the Carolina College Advising Corps, which aims to help low-income first-generation and underrepresented NC high school students attend a college that will serve them well by placing a recent UNC graduate as college advisors in public schools throughout the state. And we've seen the local impact here since 2014, with more than 2,000 Rockingham County students reporting submitting at least one college application, and more than $30 million in scholarships have been offered to seniors since 2013. That's a $450 return for every $1 invested in the program. That's one of the many initiatives of the Education Foundation. One that we've definitely come to love is getting outside and outdoors. Trails K-12 allows that for our students and our community through a system-wide model of change by building access to natural learning spaces in the backyards of schools and empowering teachers and students to use those spaces. And the goal is to have a trail or learning space in every public school in Rockingham County by the end of 2024. And at its core, Trails K-12 is a movement to get kids outside in the backyards of their schools, in their natural spaces for structured and unstructured time. Both are vital to nurturing creative thinking and developing the whole child. And you can give to the initiative of your choice by texting EDUCATE to 24365. That's EDUCATE to 24365, where you have several options to donate, whether that's through the area of greatest need, the College Advising Corps, college campus visits at RCC for kids who cannot afford to visit the campus, Trails for Schools, and music lessons through the Piedmont Instrument Classes for Kids program. You can text EDUCATE to 24365. We mentioned today's giveaway, a Gordon Allen print. How about some of the other great giveaways that we have? We have the Trails giveaway, offering donors a chance to send their favorite teacher's class on a field trip to remember right in our own backyard on the beautiful trails of Rockingham County. On day 10, we'll be drawing for a trip to Big Beaver Island Creek, sponsored by Tri-State Steel. On day 11, a field trip to the beautiful Madison River Park, sponsored by Chris Bass Engineering in the town of Madison. On day 12, a field trip to Matrimony Creek and Falls, sponsored by Tri-State Steel of Reedsville. And we've got that beautiful $1,200 diamond and 14-karat gold bracelet brought to you by Arthur's Jewelry in Reedsville. Over $5,000 in value in our giveaways during the 12 days of education. Thank you so much to all of those out there that have helped us give away things to support education, because that's the number one name in the game. Our grand prize giveaway is a weekend stay at the lovely oceanfront Holt Condo on Caswell Beach. All you have to do to enter is text EDUCATE to 24365 and enter our giveaway today. As we welcome in today's guest, I want to welcome in Merald Holloway of NC 100. Merald, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Joe. Hope you're doing well.
I am. It's always good to talk to you and catch up on what's going on in Rockingham County and some of the efforts forward to education. Let's start with where your passion lies, NC 100. Tell us about what's going on at NC 100 and some of the things that you guys are working on.
Yeah, so NC 100, for folks that don't know, we are based in Rockingham County, like you said, Joe, and we have really tried to focus on a couple things. The first thing is supporting a young group of students starting in sixth grade, thinking about career pathways, connecting them to former Rockingham County alumni like myself and others doing some really cool stuff. And then have a continuum of connection with these students until age 22. And the idea is to have them think a little bit about several different pathways to success through these two trails. One trail is, having people work for you. And then another trail is going to work for somebody. And maybe as you're going to work for somebody, you'll figure out a way for people to work for you. So we really want to kind of not have a stratified, like there's only one way to do it. It's like there's multiple ways to do it, and kind of have folks think about spectrums. We're doing some capacity building as well with Cone Health right now, working with 6 or 7 other nonprofits in Rockingham County to build some capacity and some tools for them to design, think, imagine, and prototype ideas for community collaboration. So our programs are going pretty well. We're, trying to deal with the pandemic. But then also, supporting a group of folks to provide continued value and improve wealth creation, protect wealth where there is. And we hope that leads to a healthier Rockingham County.
I think we're starting to realize as we hit 2022 as a whole, no matter what road you take, whether it's the path less traveled or the path that everybody travels, there's education that's needed in order to get where you need. And, sometimes we forget not only that we need that education no matter what path we take, but it needs to be provided and be available for all that are taking those paths.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And it has to be customized sometimes. I mean, there is education and things that don't have to be connected to things that you're interested in. And then there is educations or things or pathways that need to have a direct connection to something that a young person is really interested in so they can grasp it. Not everyone, not everyone learns the same. Not everyone processes the same. So we really are promoting and hoping that people are thinking about being open and thinking about customizing things to, how children and other young learners are, needed, provided.
Tell us a little bit about the NC Elite program that you guys are working on.
Yeah. So back in 2017, we partnered with Reedsville Middle School to start the cohort that I talked about, where we said we wanted to get together with teachers and community leaders and see if there were a group of kids at Reedsville Middle School and then others, down the road. Could we figure out a way to, put a cohort together that was interested in career pathway work, interested in building things, interested in building businesses, going into all types of different careers and exposing them to those things. And then what our goal is to have those children contribute back to Rockingham County on their way from, like you said, we're going from from grade 6 into age 22 with the goal of, finding a way to pour back in. I grew up here in Rockingham, County, grew up in Reedsville, and left and didn't come back for a while and and when I went to school, I didn't really go to school for education. I went to school for a job, and I didn't really think about when I did get in the workforce, like that was education too. So like we're trying to just have, share experiences. We go on field trips. We've connected with plenty of other Rockingham County alumni that don't live in Rockingham County anymore, but are contributing and want to pour in. So the NC Elite program has been, constantly evolving. Our first set of kids that started the program are in 10th and 11th grade. And we are constantly trying to figure out ways to still kind of connect them, because I'll tell you, Joe, what happens with students that actually have some agency when they get to 16 or 17 and they can choose where they go because they're driving a vehicle. They either have to work or want to work. And so we're just trying to figure out ways, can we still be interesting, still have some value, and then figure out ways for them to plug in to some of the younger students that come in behind them.
It's the 12 Days of Education, Day 7, presented by the Rockingham County Education Foundation. You can help our wonderful initiatives by texting EDUCATE to 24365 and get entered today to win that Gordon Allen photography print. If you do enter, you're all automatically into our giveaways throughout the 12 days, and we've got some great ones coming up that you want to stay tuned for. So make sure you text EDUCATE to 24365 as we hear from Merald Holloway of NC 100. And Merald, you bring up some good points. And one of the things that we've talked about as far as education for young students all the way up to middle school and high school is having roadways and opportunities. And your comments remind me that you can have all the roads you want, whether they're gravel, whether they're dirt, whether they're cement, they're asphalt. It doesn't matter if you don't have communication, right? If you're not collaborating and talking and creating opportunities on those roadways by talking to one another. The roads are nice, but we got to communicate with everybody.
Yeah, and we have to figure out ways to like I'll always talk about customization, like figuring out different ways to communicate with people. Like sometimes, I do see a lot of our young folks because they had the opportunity to be digital and operate on these doohickeys here and on the computer, and then that's cool that you're able to kind of communicate that way, but like encouraging communication in other ways. It's like, let's, bring back the art of being able to have conversations like we're having face to face, sharpening your writing skills, those things are, we tend to abbreviate and microwave everything. And so sometimes we need to think a little bit about like trying to, let's write a little bit more. Let's not abbreviate. Let's have conversations in community that don't require us being on our machines. Now, with the pandemic, of course, we, to be safe, we have to be a little bit more remote, but we really are just challenging, these ideas of like, there's not one way. There's no either or. There's both, and there's this whole idea of thinking about things in spectrums. So
the way I always think of it, I'm pretty up to date on technology, right? I'm pretty up to date on what's going on. I'm sure you are too. But I also know that there's somebody maybe a little bit younger, but maybe not. But there's always somebody that knows more than I do. And if we close those lanes, if we close those opportunities to learn from those experiences, just like I can learn a lot from my mother. By the way, call your mom today. It's Saturday. Call your mom. That's important.
Yes.
You can learn from everybody. Don't ever close an avenue of somebody's perspective. I mean, you just never know what you can learn, and not only just learn, but what can turn out from learning that moment, in working with that other person that you might not have thought about it. And it's important not just from that perspective, but to show that as role models to those in education that are on the up and coming.
Yeah, that's a great point, Joe. One of the things that we've had a lot of conversations with the kids is, and the other people that work with the community, everyone in the community has value. Every single person, even the people that don't agree with you. Sometimes I have a colleague of mine, some work I do in Raleigh, and that illustrates this really well. Like, think about a tree. And when you see a tree, it's very easy to see the leaves on the tree, just like it's very easy to get somebody's hot take or somebody's idea about, like, this is how I feel about this. And it's very passionate. And you see it on Facebook or you see it in person, and people, get really passionate about X, Y, and Z. And if you don't agree on the surface, sometimes we tend to walk away from that person or feel like that person have value or can't teach us anything. But what we challenge people in community and our students to think about is dig a little deeper. Like, what's the issue that is the root cause of, like, that feeling that comes out emotionally, or something that people present? Like, what's the, digging deeper, having more conversations, really believing that people have value, and finding out, why is this important to you? And is there a way that we can connect on something in common? And then if we connect on something in common, maybe that's a way for us to work on something together. So yeah, with old, young, black, white, Latino, whatever it is, rural, urban, we really are just kind of expressing that and really challenging people in the community and our students to think about it that way. Every single person in the community has value.
How much more educated can we be if we're all willing to unlock the identities and listen to the identities of others? I mean, I think that's a big part of education that we don't talk about enough, is I can learn so much just by being willing to listen.
Yeah. Just being able to listen and reflect and really deeply listen to, Joe. I know,
yes,
I've spent a long time in operational roles, like supporting people that have problems. And one of the traps that you run into, because if you're a problem solver, when somebody's talking to you and like talking about what's going on, you're thinking about the solution automatically, because that's how you're wired. But when you really should be listening and trying to reflect what that person just gave to you. And then there's a great connection between human beings when we're really connected, and you feel like you're heard and somebody really understands what you're trying to share. So, trying to, active listening, reflective listening, that's so important.
And sometimes when you listen, you're not really listening, but maybe 2 days later, 3 days later, it really clicks in your head. That's all right too. Use that tool as well, and don't discard it because it took 2 to 3 days to process it. I mean, that's the beauty of learning, is you never know at what moment you're going to be able to actually sink in what you've learned.
100%. 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm a convener just, by nature. And like, I also value the need to, if you aren't in a place to be able to listen, it's okay to be vulnerable and let somebody know, like, this is what's keeping me from being able to be present. And we have to normalize that sometimes. It's like, I may not be in a position to where I can fully be part of this conversation, and it's okay to let people know that. And when you are, then maybe it's a better time for a conversation. So that's another thing too. Because we sometimes, pride goes before the fall, right?
Right. Speaking of which, working with our young students and working in our community, when you listen to what is needed, what are you hearing, and what are some of the things our communities need to work on as far as providing avenues in education and continuing to better education?
Yeah, I think one thing that really stands out is representation. I think it really is important for people to, see themselves in leadership, to have those examples that we're talking about, as people that are leaders, being examples to the community. That whole thing of like being present, having leaning into your humanity. I think that's a big deal. We need role models. We need people to be vulnerable. Those are really big, and we need to see people working together that maybe wouldn't do normally. I think sometimes one of the things we hear in community is like, well, that person's already doing that. It's like, well, they're doing it in their way, and maybe you would do better, or there may be something that could come from it, very positively if you work on it together. Like maybe you are focusing on the same group of people, or you're doing this one process, but could it be better if you put your heads to it, put your heads together and create something that is going to have more impact? The other thing that we hear, and this is not unique to Rockingham County, it's our geography. People, they deal with people in this part of town or this city or this side of the county. It's, what could we be doing to connect ideas and people across the county? I think we would be much better off as a county and as a community if we thought about collaboration a little bit more. So those are the big things: representation, the willingness to be vulnerable, cross section industry type of collaboration, and just leaning into humanity. So those are the things that we hear most of the time.
He's Merald Holloway of NC 100. You can learn more nc-100.org. Merald, thanks for taking time this Saturday on the 12 Days of Education, and thanks for what you do in the community.
Yeah, and thank you for what you guys are doing. This is awesome, and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
He's Merald Holloway of NC 100 joining us here on day 7 of the 12 Days of Education. Always looking to open lanes, but always making sure that those lanes are open. It's two different things in education and learning throughout our lives, I believe. And we can have the roads, they can be open, but if we don't work to keep them open, it won't matter. Glad to have Merald Holloway here from NC 100 on the 12 Days of Education as we welcome in our Executive Director of the Education Foundation. It's Jenny Edwards. Jenny, how you doing this Saturday? I love the glowing in the back, the beautiful set. You're showing me up. Look, that's beautiful back there.
Joe, I've been meaning to ask you, how do you get that green, that really cool green light behind you? I mean, it looks like the Grinch might be hiding back there. Can you make it turn colors?
We got red now.
Very fancy. Very fancy. It looks good. So
it just takes the remote. It just takes the remote.
Okay. All right. Good. Listen, what a day today. I tell you, it's foggy out there, but we had the hike with Santa today on the Smith River Greenway. Joe, 50 children showed up for that.
Wow. Awesome.
Isn't that great? It was a partnership with the Rockingham County Partnership for Children and the City of Eden. Santa Claus was out there. Santa's wife was out there. Santa's sister was there. And I believe a couple of elves. They hiked for about a mile. They had hot chocolate and cookies, and every child went home with a book. And none of that would have been possible without the robust partnership with the Rockingham County Partnership for Children, which speaks exactly to what Merald was just talking about, that importance of coming together as community and looking for solutions and doing programs together in partnership. We are much stronger together. Today was a perfect example of it.
One thing that I've learned through working with you, Jenny, and sometimes when we've worked on projects is you don't have the solution when you just get together and talk. But when you talk, maybe it'll find itself. The solution will pop up if you have the conversation, if you put everybody in the same room.
I think that was the point that Merald was just making, which was so cool. He really helped me to begin to think about, in nonprofits, we often think about not having duplication of services. Yeah. But maybe there's a different lens to look at that, and that maybe there's a duplication of solutions. So, instead of like shutting down nonprofits because they're all doing the same thing or they're serving the same people, empower those nonprofits to come together and think about solutions, kind of swim upstream and see what the cause is together. That's pretty cool.
It's time to go to the Golden Teapot, but first let's take a look at today's giveaway on the 12 Days of Education. On the 7th day of education, this is the only time I'll sing to thee, a Gordon Allen photograph print. When you talk about Gordon Allen, what he's done in our community in the wildlife photography and the community photography that he's captured, you want that on your wall, don't you?
You do. And what's really cool is this photograph is taking a duck. I can't remember the kind of duck. Gordon can tell you. The photograph was taken right where Falls Creek enters into the Mayo River. And that is one of the sites of the field trip that some lucky winner will get to give that to the teacher of their choice in Rockingham County. They'll get to go to the very spot where that photograph was taken. It's one of the 2 falls that the children will visit as a result of thanks to Tri-State Steel and their sponsorship of this.
Awesome. Well, I want to remind everybody, too, you might miss this giveaway as we come close to going to the Golden Teapot, but we still have several days of the 12 Days of Education, over $5,000 in value in the giveaways. We have that 14-karat gold and diamond bracelet given to us thanks to the support of Arthur's Jewelry in Reedsville. We have those field trips, all 3 coming up as well. We have so many other giveaways. You can join by texting EDUCATE to 24365, and you're in every single drawing when you do that. So text EDUCATE to 24365, and you're also helping support our initiatives, and we couldn't thank you enough. It's been so cool to see all the support pour in. And, you know, one thing about Rockingham County, we did this last year and the support rolled in. You can count on our community when it comes to helping children and helping teachers and helping those that make the biggest difference, in my opinion, right here in our hometowns.
Joe, you said that beautifully.
So let's go to that Golden Teapot. Let's see if we got any new names. Let's draw for this beautiful Gordon Allen print. And then whoever wins, feel free to mail it to Joe Dexter's address. Or
doing a last check. Okay.
Or keep it for yourself. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I so far every drawing we've had, I've wanted the thing. That's the danger. Okay, so here's a Golden Teapot. We have all of those donations that just came in are in here, and then anyone who won previously, your name goes right back in here. So you have lots of chances to win. Okay, I'm not going to look. Pull one out toward the bottom. Oh, I have somebody. All right, Allison. I should know how to pronounce her last name. She served on the board. She was actually the president of the Dam River Basin Association for several years. She donated to support the Trails program. And this photograph is perfect for her. She is also a photographer, so she's going to love this.
Some things happen for a reason, right?
They sure do. Congratulations, Allison. I'm so glad you won that.
Well, thank you for joining us for Day 7 of the 12 Days of Education. You can support us by texting EDUCATE to 24365, and we look forward to tomorrow as we'll talk with Principal Laura Carter coming up on the 12 Days of Education on Sunday. We got great giveaways coming up as well, so stay tuned. Get your name in the pot by texting EDUCATE to 24365. Jenny, have a beautiful Saturday.
You too. Thank you, Joe.
It's December.